It's a secret, but it's an open secret. It's plain to all, but only if you see and understand. Then don't you understand this parable? Then how will you understand any parable? It's a secret, but it's an open secret. It's plain to all, but only if you see and understand. Then Jesus said to them, don't you understand this parable? Then how will you understand any parable? It's a secret, but it's an open secret. It's plain to all, but only if you see and understand. Then don't you understand this parable? Then how will you understand any parable? It's a secret, but it's an open secret. It's plain to all, but only if you see and understand. Then Jesus said to them, don't you understand this parable? Then how will you understand any parables?
Understand this parable? Then how will you Well, well, well. Well, well, welcome to another Sunday chill stream with McMo. Sorry you don't like the intro, Grim, but if you don't like it so much, why don't you not marry it? Why don't you divorce it? Doesn't quite work as well. Right into it, folks. Right into it. Sorry, I just realized y'all couldn't hear the music. I love an active hive mind. Good morning, Neil. Enjoy yourself, Luke. All right, I recognize that forehead. What up,
Yo, yo,
dog?
yo, yo, yo. I can't hear you,
What?
dog.
You
There I
can't hear
can.
me?
No, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound a little echoey, but maybe that's just because you're sick.
Maybe that's because I'm sick. Maybe it's because I'm in a bathtub. Maybe it's both.
Sick in the tub.
So, do you think, McMo, we were going to talk about this a while ago, but do you think there is a anti-intellectualism streak in the TLC?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it pops up. Talk to me about why, because I do think it pops up occasionally, and I very much agree with what CW said in the emergent stream, and I think we are called to love God or whatever you want to call life, being, love with all our minds. So,
Yeah. I don't think that there's anything particularly wrong with a kind of anti-intellectualism for oneself. You know, if thinky talky and just smarty pants stuff's just not your thing, I don't think you need to try to make it be your thing. I think for most people who are intellectual, it's because God's put put a pebble in their shoe. And there's a sense in which if they didn't feel the need to think about these things deeply and thoroughly, then they wouldn't be doing it. So yeah, but I don't think the anti-intellectualism in the corner is like rampant or anything. I definitely don't think it's worse than just like generally in the world. You know, like it's a lot of smarty pants people here. I think the main issue that I'm seeing recently is less that which maybe this is a part of the anti-intellectualism. But I think that we are getting in a trap of more and more having the same conversations over and over again, and redefining TLC because it's like an interesting, fascinating question, I guess, for a lot of us, but it just leads to kind of a type of, it's like narcissistic patterns within conversation, right? Like if the TLC was an organism, it sure does like talking about itself. And so to me, that's a bigger problem than the anti-intellectualism. I think it actually keeps us in, and maybe it's connected. You know, maybe it's a similar pattern of what's going on. Yeah, I could almost say that the like navel gazing is a type of anti-intellectualism. And I realize that I'm also doing that as I'm critiquing it. Right, I'm also doing that, but I do think that we need more generativity, more creativity, more collaboration. And in order to do that, in order for the TLC to kind of escape the narcissistic trap we're in, I do feel like people actually have to start thinking for themselves and creating, dare I say, content for the rest of us. You know, if we were in a small church, we would call it using our gifts, right? We got a lot of people out there burying their talents. And so I think the more that the people in the corner who are routinely on and having conversations, I think we have not a small bit of responsibility to kind of bring the heat in a way, and not bring the heat in terms of playing the hits, but in heat in terms of like stretching ourselves to the edge of our thinking, humbly changing our minds about things that we used to think. You know, now you got me preaching off of just one question. which is funny. You're sick enough to where you have to be in a bathtub, but not too sick to come on and colonize my brain so I take my mind off of this chill beat I'm working on. Bold move, Luke. Bold move. I'll check up on the comments here. Yeah, what's your answer? What do you think about the anti-intellectualism? Grizz brings up e-peens. I guess you've left me, Luke. I guess you just joined my stream, asked me a question, and then abandoned ship.
No, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, it's because I navigated away from the page and so it muted me. Um, so there's a great Tillich quote that I was thinking of. I'm getting reverb on myself, but um,
I'm hearing that too, so it must be something. It must be you in your bathtub, bro. Well, now I can't hear you at all.
well, see,
There you are.
if I leave to go get the quote, I can't say it. Okay, so it's a Tillich quote, but it's essentially that theology moves back and forth between these two poles, like the eternal, quantum, unspoken essence pole, and then the articulated, propositional, stated pole. And I think that's just unavoidable. I think part of the anti-intellectualism comes from us still, for as much as we talk about it, good Lord, not understanding left brain, right brain stuff and propositional stuff, because um, the theology is just the propositional, at least in the scholastic modern way that we talk about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. The problem is when it becomes, when you confuse that stated articulable pole with the eternal instead of as an icon toward the eternal. Um, and so I think that's part of the positive side of the anti-intellectualism is just that misunderstanding. And then I think the negative side of the anti-intellectualism is the reality of bell curves, and that when you get at the upper echelons of within any field, any arena, it's going to be naturally exclusive because that's just the way it works. And I think people don't like it when it's at the high end of the intellectual bell curve.
Some people like it.
Some do, but I think some don't.
Well, obviously, like there are conversations that are going to be so above your level that it doesn't even seem interesting to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, yeah, I'm definitely getting an echo. I don't know. I guess that's maybe just from your phone. But oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah. I mean that conversations being above your pay grade is just a thing that not every single person, because I assume there is a smart person out there who's never overheard a conversation of two people talking about things he knew that he didn't know.
Yeah, but it has to, because you can't be an expert in every arena.
Yeah,
You know?
You're right. Yeah, and actually, it's that thing of like, the more you learn how much you need to learn, kind of a thing. Like that would be something like true learning. I think that the people who are responding though to an over intellectualism. I think that there is something there. There is a there in terms of what they are maybe disgusted by, like in the sense of like disgust sensitivity, like the things that the way in which it's kind of offensive. I wonder if what they're onto is something like trying to understand for one's own personal like one is tempted to understand, so for vainglory, basically, for vanity.
Right, but there's an automatic judgment baked into that, right? Like that's something you can't know about another person.
Well, you can certainly know it about yourself, right? And so that's what I think. Like, let every man watch himself, lest he fall, or whatever that verse is. But um, there is this. I do think that there, just because it's a judgment and it turns back on oneself, I still think it's a true judgment. That if you're, unless you take unless you LARP as a fool, which is my preferred route to go to when I'm in conversations, and the conversation turns to things I know very little about. If straight listening isn't the option, or in order to keep the conversation going, but you can't really dance in those waters, rather than being like, what's the point of even talking about this? I think the better move is to play the fool and to ask pointed questions. But
Hell yeah, that's the exact mode, is asking questions. But like that's something I don't, because I agree with you. Sorry about the echo. I remember having the, like when Peterson talks about when he was 20 or something, and realizing something like 90% of what he said was just bullshit and ego, and that needed to die, and he's needed to stop doing that. I had a similar thing, and it's not that I act this way perfectly, but I remember when I was young, like I pretend like I knew about everything. Like somebody would bring up a subject, I'd be like, oh yeah, yeah. And and now I don't know. I For most of my adult life, I've made a point when people are talking about something, I'll be like, I don't know what that is. What is that? Like explain that to me. Like I'm not following you. And I just don't like the reality is that's going to be inevitable for all of us because we can't all be experts in every field. So why not just say that?
yeah, well, and I think because we tend to think of smart people as correlating with the truth, like because they can put together sentences and justify their actions. Um, there tends to be a sense of that there's like a ontological, they're of a higher ontological quality or something, um, which we're mosaic thinking today. So all of you word cells in the hive mind, don't tear me up over that. But that, I guess what's going through my brain as I was reading and listening to once again this morning Kierkegaard's Works of Love, Chapter 1. And he basically talks about there being a shrewdness, and it's basically a way in which we can fool ourselves when we try to contemplate love, where we can kind of fool ourselves that thinking about love or somehow trying to understand love, trying to, through our judgment and discernment, discern love in itself. That is fundamentally like a work or an action, and thereby it can be confused with the real thing. It can be confused with love itself. We can fool ourselves into thinking that thinking about love is loving, when the greatest of these is love. And so I guess that's all just like the full, like that, to try to steel man the like anti-intellectual side of things. I think that that's probably like what they're pointing at that's really, really valuable, is just that like the greatest of these is love, and any type of thinky, smarty pants, talky that gets us away from love is ultimately like not helpful.
Yeah,
Or not
for sure.
not ultimately helpful. It can still be like incrementally helpful towards, loving God with our minds. But like, yeah, because I can just think of so many more important things than like thinking.
Yeah.
All right,
Sometimes it's
we've had a lot of comments. Oh, go.
okay. Sometimes it's really helpful though. And like for somebody like me, I mean, I don't know how it would be otherwise. It's kind of impossible to imagine yourself being differently than you are. I mean, you kind of can, but not really. This is kind of like CC Mole's question to you of like, what's the essence of McMo? And you're just like, this. Um, yeah, I don't. I mean, nobody. It's almost more like an anti-intellectualism, which that's fine. Anytime you want to absolutize anything other than the proper mode of being in the world, knowing as you are known, right? That First Corinthians 8 verse, which is to me proper knowledge. Um, yeah, then it becomes an idol, and that's all legit. But then I think people so quickly just, and really that was part of the Mark Parker Nate thing about nihilism when people were coming onto our stream just being like, well, you can't know that. But that's like, that's essentially the people, different people holding the elephant move, but then you coming in and saying, but it's an elephant. You're just saying like, but nobody can really know it's an elephant. Well, how do you know it's an elephant then?
Yeah, I've always hated the elephant allegory because, well, and this is, I guess you could also say this of Plato's cave allegory, but in order to tell the allegory, you basically are saying, ah, yes, I sit on this throne of absolute knowing, and not in the Hegelian sense, maybe right Hegelian, but like, I have true, which maybe we're hitting the big ones, epistemology and metaphysics and all of that, but like, to kind of claim, to name some, to name it and frame it. I totally lost the plot, but it was that the the allegory, like whoever tells the allegory puts themselves in the position of knowing that it's an elephant, and like seeing all these blind people feeling different parts of the elephant, but also they have like all of this knowledge about every animal except an elephant, so that they would confuse every single part of an elephant with some other animal. It's, I know I get the
Right.
point of the allegory, but yeah, that's always like a really weird. Whenever someone uses that, I get triggered because of that that little twist.
Right. So what do you think about the idea of someone saying like we can't ever know anything in an encapsulable systematic absolute, which I would agree with because that's like the Ouroboros knowledge, which lends too much to structure and is not reality, which is both order
Yeah,
and chaos. Um, but when you say like you can't know, um,
I would say
like
now we know in part, and
yeah,
I'd probably just leave it at that, because uh, it's dangerous to start saying things like we definitely don't know everything, or like, well, do you know that we don't know everything, or so, stuff like
right.
I'm not awake enough. I've only had one cup of coffee, and I've been up since like 4 a.m. So I
Dude,
definitely
me too. It
cannot go into
sucked.
those waters.
Yeah, no, that's right. I was gonna say this, which is more go to the realm of Chad confessional, is I've been having relational struggles. Um, like this is where the rubber meets the road, right? And stuff that we talk about a little bit in the corner, but you can't really get into the super nitty gritty because it's not the entire public internet's business. But like when you start talking about family issues and relational struggles and things, like if I had proper knowledge, well, you can't even go there. Like I was gonna say I cut myself off. I was gonna say if you have proper knowledge, then things would go well with you. But then sometimes there's Job. So,
Yeah, no, I
you
think the Christian life is, um, like the only thing that'll save you from hypocrisy in some sense is love. But it has to be, the love has to be real. So you kind of have to believe in that love can be real. Uh, and to believe that love can be real is to, in some real way, kind of have faith that God has given you something, uh, that is, or has made you in such a way as to be capable of love. So there's all these ramifications. But I think very often we tend to think that, yeah, if only I were to love the right way, if only I were to perfectly repent, if only, then my life would go great. I would be living the capital G good life. God would bless me like He blessed Abraham and Joseph and all the patriarchs the rich people. I'm displaying my temptation, right? Because I want to get rich, and I would love to not have to worry about money or whatever, and I have plenty of temptations. So that's just one of them. But
108% of goal reached, my friend.
Yeah, click the Ko-Fi link. Make me rich. No, what was I going to say? So, yeah, I was trying to bring in The Hidden Life, which I watched, but I fell asleep for the last 30 minutes last night. It's a beautiful film, but it was very peaceful, and the pacing was, you know.
You got to watch it in the AM.
Yeah. Me and Noah Foxman were going to watch it, but then he was like, I can't do it tonight. And I was like, well, my wife is like tired from work, so she's going to bed. It'll probably be easier for me to watch it tonight and then try to squeeze it in today with all the streaming I have to do.
That's right. You got to represent, buddy. You got to keep your slot filled. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was going to say that, like, I think that oftentimes just like personal problems, like if you can see them through the eyes of faith, it's kind of obvious that they're for your good, and that therefore you probably need to repent, and you probably are doing something. It's like the Peterson thing, right? Like you're probably doing something wrong that you need to stop doing. And with marriages too, it's almost always both, right? But and then maybe it's a fight. Like this is something I think about with my wife a lot, which is like if we have a blow up fight, I normally think like, oh, that's a small fight we should have had like a week ago, but I was too cowardly, or she was too cowardly to bring it up and to have the fight.
Hell yeah, I agree.
And so, but then there is also of like, there's a fun part of being in a relationship too, and so some of the conflict can be fun, especially if you're a little bit disagreeable, or it's probably easier if you're the agreeable one, in my humble opinion. But maybe that's just because I'm the agreeable one. But like there is a sense in which like my wife is just so much better at fighting than me, that it can kind of become a game as long as she's on her best behavior, right? So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have any marital wisdom other than my own, or relationship wisdom really other than my wife, because she's my best friend and my wife. So all of my like, when I think of family, when I think of friends, and when I think of romance, I basically just think of my wife.
You going to Midwest Shmurry?
Yeah, my plan is I will probably have to grift for it, but that's okay. I might be able to pay for the hotel with points, or my flights with points, or something like that, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure all of that out. Oh, can't hear you. Or you're like really quiet. Yeah, it's like your microphone got water in it or something. Well, I'm going to play some branding and go grab a coffee. Be right back. And by that, I mean, be right back.
That all sounds well and good, but really, how do I get there? Okay, you said this whole beautiful thing, and I know many of you, especially out there on the YouTube channel, are going to say, I have problems believing this stuff. Yeah, I get it. The thing is, a lot of people who say, I have problems believing this stuff, think that the way to answer those problems is by theory. And generally speaking, no. You just don't work that way. You don't ride a bike. You don't learn to ride a bike by theory. You don't learn to swim by theory. You can watch a lot of videos about swimming, but I promise you will not learn to swim without getting in water.
See, like when you guys make the premiere of the branding, I can see it being 2.5 minutes. But normally I need like a minute or 30-second size clips. So, do your fancy premiere, but then also give me the views.
All right, we're back. We're back. Well, I'll just keep making this beat until somebody wants to join. I believe I pinned the link. Let me make sure that I didn't pin the Ko-Fi link. Yep. We're pinned. We're pinned, baby. Well, maybe I'm just such a sympathetic listener, a.k.a. an empath, that hanging out with sick Luke made me feel sick. I basically want to blame Luke for it. Hey, we got Tayo. What's up, Tayo?
What's going on, bro? How you doing?
I'm all right. I didn't realize how sleepy I was until Luke came on, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm not as energized as I was yesterday." We'll say.
Yesterday's stream was a pretty epic one, and you did a Rando's interview and made a beat for Freddie. There was a lot going on,
Yep.
and also I took that comment as you flexing that you can make sick beats even when you're in your sleep. So flex, bro, flex.
Well, yeah. It's not that I can make like the best beat you've ever heard, but I can basically put my brain on AI mode and just give you like it's not just that, but like when I'm sick, it's actually I'm not sick. I think I'm just like a little sleep deprived. And yesterday, well, I don't know. I'm also wondering to what extent my body's still just like getting adjusted to the whole like time zone change, because I was in Vegas last week or this past week. So not only did I switch time zones to West time, I also was like staying up way too late. So I would like still be awake when my wife was getting up in the morning. So I would just like text her and be like, I'm going to sleep. And she's like, I'm waking up.
Yeah, America's too big. That's all I heard. But just to do what I came on to do, which was to follow in the footstep of corners citizens like Mark and Chad, who come on stream to apologize when they've done wrong. I said a mean comment to Luke on Friday, and I wanted to apologize to him in person, but he left before I came on.
Well, good thing you're in the Heretics Confessional, because for what it's worth, and it ain't worth much, I offer you complete, what is it called? Absolution.
I'm a Protestant. Confessing to brothers is what we do.
Yeah, praise God. No, yeah, that's a good thing to do. I should probably apologize because I've said mean comments in the past that I didn't apologize for sooner. I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm only apologizing now that you said that, because I've said many mean things that I've not apologized for. Only apologizing because Luke was gracious enough to call me out when I did it. So
yeah, well, dims the brakes. That's the stuff of community, folks. We're so far behind in the meaning crisis. We're like, we need community. Well, I've been in enough communities to know that once you're in community, it's mostly just like hurting people's feelings, hurting each other's feelings, having to apologize, having to deal with things like jealousy and envy and bitterness and the lot. attention seeking. You name it, you name it. I got beans, greens, potatoes,
Oh
tomatoes,
yeah, that's
ham,
where that's
lamb.
from.
You made it. Yeah.
When you said you name it, you triggered something in my brain, but it took me a while to register. Wait, what's that from?
So CW says McMo is the UMAMI of music for me. What does that mean? What is the UAM? Are you giving me a actually? I probably shouldn't ask. I'll take it as a compliment. Happy I can help, C Dubs. Happy I can help.
I think it's McMo's the you mammy.
Umami. That kind of. I gotcha. Umami. Umami. Okay. I gotcha. I got it out. I figured it out. Yeah. Okay, guys. I remember. I saw the documentary about sushi or whatever that talked about umami too.
I don't know what this is, but the Hive Mind clearly does. So
yeah. So umami is like one of the tastes. It's like it's often in Asian food. The oh gosh, I can only hear it in Uncle Roger's voice. Let me think.
do it.
No, I'm trying to remember the get canceled. Just when my stars beginning to be on the rise, Tayo tries to get me canceled. It's called something G or MSG. That's what it is. MSG.
MSG. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with MSG.
Yeah, MSG. That's kind of like a umami. Yeah, something umami about that. If I recall correctly. Well, here I got a question for you, Tayo. I haven't been because I was in Vegas. I really couldn't hop on the Discord this week. So was there any? And I know there was the Discord Estuary Friday. What's the ear to the ground in terms of what's been going on in the TLC's underbelly, the Discord voice chats?
Unfortunately, I'm not the right person to ask.
Been taking a little break, have we?
It's just a little one. But I did pop in on Friday to do the Discord Estuary, as well as I think sometime during the week I popped in and was my heart was filled when I popped in and I heard Tunji and Nico arguing about the Roman Empire. I was like, oh, everything's it's all good. It's all good.
CW's asking what my Vegas playlist was. Well, this week it was mostly Kendrick Lamar. When I had time to listen to music, it was mostly G and X. Yeah.
Where does Gen X rank in your Kendrick discography?
Oh, good question. Well, I put Untitled Unmastered as my favorite, followed by To Pimp a Butterfly, followed by Damn. Oh, no. Followed by Good Kid, Mad City. Then Damn. Actually, I think GNX was above Damn. Below Good Kid, Mad City. So what does that make it? 4?
I mean, this is Kendrick's discography we're talking about. That still makes it quite an excellent album, in your opinion.
Yeah, I think it is. I think, somewhere early on, he's like, effing entendre, I want you to feel this. I do think that this was like, well, this gets to a deeper point, which I thought I still haven't heard anybody really say about the whole Kendrick thing, which is that, and my dog's barking, and we're going crazy. But yeah, the point I was trying to make was that like I knew Kendrick was going to body Drake because I had listened to the Black Panther soundtrack, and that's basically the most aggressive Kendrick had been for a full album's length. And I was kind of always wanting him to kind of have that type of just like basically like angry like songs for the gym, for lack of a better way of putting it. And I don't feel like GNX was totally that. It was still kind of West Coast to the core. Also, by the way, I don't know if you were there, but I told Lance that he should listen to it because I was like, "You love West Coast hip hop, you're gonna love this album." And he was like, I don't know, I don't know about Kendrick or blah blah blah. And then he listened to it and he was like, "Yeah, I loved it." So, yeah, I guess I would probably put it number 4. But it's a similar. It's like the better version of the Black Panther album in some ways. Even though now that I'm thinking about it, I think the Black Panther album might be better than GNX.
Yeah, I
So,
was going to say there's
good baby tonight, woo, miss me with that bullshit.
yeah. I've not listened to the Black Panther album in like a few months. I think it's time to bring that one back.
Yeah, some of the deep cuts on that too are just really, really good. Well, because a lot of them are like posse cuts, right? Like so.
Yeah, I think that's actually a better comp in terms of like the amount of features, and
Yeah,
he's showcasing other people as much as actually it did a lot more showcasing on the Black Panther album than it did on.
yeah. It's just not as West Coast, and I feel like there aren't as many like. It is super West Coast, but yeah, it's just different. I do love the Black Panther album. Now you got me rethinking my whole thing now. All right, what was going on in the comments?
Nico made an appearance. Luke likes
Patchouli.
Julie, vanilla, and other stuff.
Yep. Luke probably wears like sandals.
I think Luke is probably the one that smells the best of all the people. And now that I'm thinking about
Did you
Oh,
met Luke in person?
no, I'm just
You're just speculating.
speculating.
Well, I probably would put myself, if not smelling the worst, like probably close to the bottom. Having only met Pete and Dave W. Oh, and Mark Parker. Although Mark Parker, he hasn't mentioned how I smelled, and I think that's because he's a very polite man. But yeah, I would probably put myself at the bottom. Let's see. Luke's cologne. Okay, I see. Man Musk. LOL, dude. Let's see. Careful what you wish for, Grizz. All the cool kids started coming by to my Discord, and it's cool but weird. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, you were there for it. My last Discord experience was with CW, making an appearance in a Broken Clock Tower.
That was your last?
That was my last proper.
That might have been mine, too, honestly. That was just such a great day. It was like CW was Gandalf coming to us at the turn of the tide.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his participation on Friday's live stream. And Trips as well. Like I don't know Trip enough, but every time it comes around, he drops
Yeah.
bangers after bangers.
I'd have to go back and watch to see who was perfectly correct and right and who was a complete fumbling idiot. I'm just kidding. I didn't think I thought both of them held themselves quite well, and there was some fireworks. I liked the little bit of a spicy, especially with Sam Tiedemann bringing in the like, I'm not participating in the way you want me to energy. I was like, I was kind of surprised. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, Sam,
You were surprised the Unitarian wasn't sticking to the orthodoxy of history.
I wasn't. I mean, that wasn't surprising to me, but it was his like. He continued to troll like into stage, even like the last stage or whatever, the last round. He was still bringing up Kale Zeldin as if he had been there.
That actually made me pop.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was like, wow, Sam. I just thought you were a very nice guy. Turns out you could be a real jerk sometimes. No, I didn't think anybody was a jerk. Like I said, I liked it.
He's being a jerk. He's still a nice guy. That's how much of a nice guy Sam is.
Yeah. But yeah, that was one of the best. That was one of the better. I mean, compare that live stream to the previous weeks with the CRC pastors.
I missed that one, but I did catch the clip, that PVK released of it. Um, and I thought that clip was really good, actually. Yeah, but I
It
did not
was
watch the whole
it
thing.
was really good, and I think it was good for the guys involved, like the guys that I think it was a good conversation. But the hive mind, I think, was right, and even Sartori got on to kind of point to it. But there was a lot of boomerality going on. A lot of boomerality. I'd say both left boomerality and right boomerality for what it's worth. Not that those labels are necessarily that helpful, but
Whoa, right boomerality. That's like the woke right. What does that mean?
oh yeah, well, calling Parlato. Prove to me that woke right is not a thing. Prove a negative, Parlato, that they don't exist, that there's nobody out there. He hates that phrase. He's like, you're not even talking about nothing or whatever. That's how I hear him. I haven't actually talked to him about it.
I
I've just
miss I miss Matthew.
I know. Matthew's one of the few people in TLC that I like actively like want to pick fights with, just because I love him so much. And he feels
Mine,
like a brother, that I never had or whatever. So I'm like, I really want to poke his axioms.
mine's Luke. Luke's the person that. Oh, I think Cece said it in a way that was really either in your randos or in her video. Something like he's the most similar. It says the thing that I agree with the most, but just because it doesn't say them the way I would, I pick fights with him all the time.
Nico agrees with Parlato. The woke right is not a thing. Luke says Parlato smells good. I'm not surprised with that. He's a clean man.
Yeah, yeah, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
Marine father, spent some time in jail. You know, he takes care of his. He cleaned his room. He read Jordan Peterson. And he was like, "Say less."
Yeah, I really miss that. I think missing the first few waves of what TLC when everyone was still cleaning their room is left in a place where my room's not that clean.
Oh, you'll like this. So you're familiar with the meme, and Karen Wong just talked about this with Chris Green and DC Schindler. And it was the idea that, like, it was the meme where you have like the beautiful Orthodox church with all the icons and gold everywhere and rugs on the floor, and then you have the Catholic church with the stained glass and the paintings and beautiful, pillars, high vaulted ceilings, all this stuff. And then you go to the Protestant church, and it's basically just like a movie theater or even worse, like a Walmart with chairs or something. But then one of the things that popped up on my feed this week was actually photos. They were like, hashtag aesthetic photos from the Catholic church in Japan. And they were
Oh,
like so clean, so empty, no paintings on the wall. Like if it's an icon, it's like a photo like this big, but it's like perfectly framed on the pillar that perfectly divides the room into like fifths or whatever, like all of this. And I
yeah,
was just like, that looks closer to the Protestant blank movie theater than Western Catholic churches look like, right? So that was just a very interesting. And I wanted to hear. I wish Marcher would join live streams because I'd love to be the one to introduce his voice to the world of the public. You don't even have to show your face, bud. I'll just let you talk. I'll ask you questions about Aquinas. But yeah, this is the chill stream. So, but yeah, basically now I was like, I want to go. I want my first communion with the Catholic Church to be in a Japanese. The first time I take the Holy Eucharist from a Catholic, I want it to be in a Japanese
that would be
mass.
so interesting if there was a flip, just as the Westerners that grew up in the empty Baptist churches discovering the beauty and of orthodoxy. If the
Yeah,
Catholic and Orthodox people in the East are like, no, clean it up.
opulent, too Western.
I would love to like host an estuary type, like Friday's one with a cast of CW, Luke Thompson, Tunji, Marcher, Clint, and Nico.
The voice chat crew.
The voice chat crew with a little sprinkle of some Ive Mine and some streaming.
Yeah. A little salt. Bring out the flavor.
Actually, better, I would like you to host it. I would just like to watch.
A little MSG for the umami. If I'm going to host Estuaries, do I have to go to Elsnet?
No. Well, if you're gonna do it in person, yes. But if you're going to do it online, no.
I was thinking last night, I was just dreaming, and I haven't talked to Dave W in a while. I need to reach out on Discord again. But I think me and him should probably start one after the South Estuary next year. And then he can make sure that there's a Calendly and all of that stuff, and then I can just be the guy who talks, and it would be a perfect teamwork. Hold on, I'm gonna have to switch to my phone because my dog really wants to go outside.
Go for it. I found my version of McBo. I found my guy who talks, and it's pretty cool. It's a good team.
Yeah, I guess you don't talk that much.
I'm not that smart. I just enjoy listening to smart people.
You want to tell me about the home you grew up in?
No.
Damn it, I almost got you.
Nice try, but only a noob like Cece would fall for that.
If only I had creeped up on you. I've got another strategy that's a little more.
Grizz, you know what? I'll take it.
Dang. Nico says, careful what you wish for. What was that? And what was I wishing for, Nico?
Either me talking more or the estuary, Dave W.
Oh, careful what I wish for, having to be the one who talks. Yeah, I mean, the worst that could happen is I, don't feel like talking, and then I just shut up. It's pretty easy problem to solve, actually.
There was a Substack article that I saw. I actually found it because someone made a Instagram. Jeff's called dibs on Miranda. Do you know what?
Dang.
As long as you don't bring a robot lady with you, Jeff, we can do it.
I was gonna say only.
Yeah, robot lady is the way to get in.
Now you're echoing. That might just me.
Be like, robot lady, tell us about the home Tayo grew up in. And she'll be like, the home Tayo grew up in is the home that Tayo was in when he was a boy. And when he was a boy, he grew up in this home with his family, and that was the home that Tayo grew up in. Is that good, Jeff?
You're joking, but there was a time I was watching one of Jeff's streams, and I think I joined and he asked her to say hello to me, and then she didn't, or she didn't say my name, or something like that. And then at some point she said my name, and then I thought she said my full name. I was like, wait, what? Where'd you get that from?
So speaking of things knowing way too much, I had a coworker who, before he was in Vegas, he was in a different part of the country, and he misplaced his wallet or got pickpocketed. He didn't have his ID or anything, but he still had to take this flight to Vegas, and apparently he just got to the airport 3 or 4 hours early, and went up to the TSA and was trying to be as nice as possible. And they took him into this back room, and they started grilling him about his life. The year his parents got married, his like grandmother's maiden names, like
Yeah.
crazy. Like they knew everything about him, and that.
I don't know if it's just for me, but your audio keeps dropping in and out.
Nah, that's probably for everyone because my AirPods ran out of battery in my ears while I was doing that shit earlier. But I got to walk outside too, so it's probably gonna drop here for a second. How about this? I'm gonna play some branding.
Brandon, smoke break.
I'm gonna drop the link again. Join me and Tayo. We talk all the time. We don't need to catch up. I mean, actually, we
Nice.
haven't talked in a while, so this was nice. But let's get some other people involved as well. Unless you want me all to yourself, Tayo.
Nah,
Oh
the
no.
more people are involved, the less I need to talk. So
Yep. So we're agreed. I see what happened. I signed into the wrong. On my phone, I signed into the wrong link. Link is pinned. Drop Ko-Fi, Grizz says. Let's see.
Enjoy and finally last one. There's no art for the corner. If you're a smart person, if the corner helps you, and then you go and make art, that is not art corner. That is just art you made. If you make art for the corner, that's just called garbage. Just pick it up, put it on your fridge. Your grandma laying it on the fridge. That's not for us. If it's art for the corner, it's art for the garbage. Okay? Art is just art. Period. If the corner teaches you, if it helps you see something more clearly, and then you put that into your art, and then people like the art, great. If you make art that only can be viewed by people in the corner, that's just called garbage, and it belongs in the garbage can. And that's just the way art works, okay? Guess what? I've done a lot of comedy. Most of my comedy goes directly in the garbage. Okay, it's bad. It wasn't good. Nobody laughed. My parents didn't even laugh at it. That's it. It goes in the garbage can. It wasn't good. It wasn't secretly great. They did not understand the archetypes I put into it. They did not understand the Petersonian, little thing that I was doing. None of that is true. It was garbage that went in the garbage can, and then you started over. So you're not going to make art for the corner. You're never going to have our own art galleries. This is not how art works.
The Broken Clock Tower Discord is going to clip the hell out of this little rant. It is going to become branding.
Well, yeah. Enough. I'm tired of hearing your excuses.
Amen.
Yeah. You take the pill, you put it in the peanut butter, you give it to your dog. Enough, folks. We're done. We're done pretending we don't know how to give the pill to the dog. Okay, you know what a union archetype is. Take enough. It's not that complicated. They're nice people. They want to be your friend. Don't scare them off. So, that's definitely one thing I wanted to get. Yeah. Well, yeah.
You and I can make a difference in our children's future. Overpopulation is linked to pollution, overcrowding, health problems, and poor living conditions. Too many children can mean economic and emotional hardship. Our population is growing at an alarming rate. In the next 30 seconds, 90 more people will fill the earth. We need to make a change. Planning our families can make a difference. Think about how many children you want to love and support. Respect friends in their decision to have 0, 1, or 2 kids. Adoption is another option. Let's make this a cleaner, healthier world for our kids. Please think about how many children you want to bring into this world.
Well, nobody really wanted to join us.
I don't blame them. We've got too much horror for them to want to compete with it.
Are you still going to like 3 churches every Sunday?
Yeah, went to a Methodist one today.
What do you like? Give us not the atheist audit, but the African audit.
Oh, the African order will start with there's not enough movement in the Methodist Church. Not enough dancing. Not enough drums. There's no praise break. But my My order would be it was a beautiful service. We sang some great hymns that I wrote down. I wrote down the names of them so I can add them to my playlists.
What? Welcome, Joe. And what were the hymns?
I can tell you the numbers. Let's see.
They were from a psalter, or were they from like a hymn book?
In book 322-748-673-677. We also sang 707, but I wasn't feeling that one as much.
But they that would have been in the Methodist hymn book, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's available online. Wonder how many of those I know. A lot of times the Baptists and the Methodists will share hymns, but they'll just like tweak one word here or there. I mean, that happens a lot with hymns all over the place all the time, but we grew up going through.
Just let me clear up to the hive mind. No. I do not attend three churches every Sunday. But some Sundays I do.
Yeah, those are like 18, 19-year-old McMo numbers. If you're going to 3 services for like 2 years, that'll get you kicked out in the wilderness pretty quick.
Joe, it's my first time seeing you on stream and being on stream together. Big fan from the hive mind. How you doing, bro?
I'm a big fan of you as well, I think, even though we haven't really talked yet. But yeah, it's nice to talk to you. Did you
Joe,
ask me something at the end of that? I forgot.
No, he didn't. He was just kind of saying, "Hi, howdy, how you doing?" In his own way, in his own weird British way.
British and African.
Yeah, British and African. 2 of my favorite flavors. Yes, delectable. Um, I was gonna ask Joe, what have you been thinking about? What have you been, chewing on lately?
Well, I had a talk with Demir yesterday, so I pretty much emptied out my whole brain, so I don't have a whole lot to say really, but talked a whole bunch of Demir stuff yesterday, so that's kind of basically where my head is, I suppose.
Ooh, Joe and Demir. That's a good combination.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Nico's joined us from the loudest room ever.
Loud noises.
Nico, have you come to prove me wrong about the woke right?
No, I was just joking. I do believe in the woke right.
I think it's.
I do believe in Christian nationalism, though.
Don't make me send this link to Nazi.
Oh gosh. Guys, keep this place pure. Keep it clean. We don't want any bad guys here. These waters are for good guys only. This is a good guy stream.
We're bad guys. It's what we do.
Cue Billie Eilish.
Do you know what? I went gay, you went gay. I was quoting Harley Quinn. You brought in Billie Eilish.
I've never lost that match with a man who claimed to be straight. We'll say. Nathan's got an eye for the bad guys. He's into the bad boys. Christian nationalism is a front for Roman Empire LARPing. I think that LARP goes both ways sometimes. I think that the apostolic succession of power, we'll say, are often posing as far right, and the far right are also often LARPing as the Roman Empire. So yeah, that LARP goes both ways.
We're all constantly LARPing, and that's the garments of skin. That's what I was talking about with Jonathan yesterday, which, yeah, that's why it reminded me, I guess.
Well,
that makes sense.
That makes sense to me. I mean, my advice is simple.
LARP. We have the ability to LARP and LARP hard.
Riff harder, riff harder. Riff harder, riff harder. Riff harder, riff harder.
LARP. We have the ability to LARP and LARP hard.
Riff harder, riff harder.
That was a McMo one, I think. I believe that was a McMo masterpiece. I think that was his stylistic impression, signature thereof. Okay.
All right. Yeah. Nico, what do you make of this whole LARP situation? It seems like the type of thing you'd have vehement disagreement.
No, I think the LARP problem is real. Oh, was it that Nietzsche said that you have to find your identity in something positive, not something negative? I was watching, one of my guilty pleasures is Malcolm and Simone Collins. Every time they get into it, they really do LARP a lot. Because he has this idea of, I'm going to create a new religion or ideology. And then he cuts into this Civilization 5 intro, where basically they get into a kind of progressive circle jerk, basically. That's his real religion. I don't know if you ever played Civilization, McMo, but it's progressivism to the max. Not the kind of woke progressivism, but the kind of going to Mars progressivism.
I was cutting out because I was trying to desperately make Yon God a mod so that he couldn't get banned by Grim. Not that Graham would. Actually, it is that Grim would, but he'd do it for the joke, and then I'd have to figure out how to go unban him, and that's just a lot of work that I don't want to have to do. I kind of totally agree. Well, it was interesting too that you went from Nietzsche to the Collinses, because I see their project as fundamentally kind of like a Nietzschean Ubermensch mentality mixed with a very like what's it called, Mormon kind of vibe, you could say, like and so it was a weird like synchronicity with that, but like I see, they might be a good candidate for the title woke right or something. I don't know, probably not, but like we have we almost had another guest. He dropped off right after he popped in, but yes, West Coast Refugee says secular Mormonism. Yeah, I think that kind of is. I think that kind of is true. Oh, so Nico said that Malcolm and Simone were is Nico's guilty pleasure. That's I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, but that's pretty weird, dude.
They work so well as a couple. You can tell they are made for each other. It's such a rare thing on the internet.
Yeah, I suppose so. I think it's just that they're both autistic enough to just like be 100% transparent or as close to as possible. And so, yeah, in that sense, they're a match made on the spectrum. Oh, looks like we've got another.
It's
This
the
is
artist that made it. Hey!
yeah. This is becoming the voice chat to to stream pipeline now. Apparently,
Yep.
Tunji, welcome, brother.
It's the Sicilian mafia. You better watch out what you say, Macron.
Yeah, I thought that I saw Tinder was in a Discord room, and I knew it was probably making something, so I thought it'd be a good visual for the chill stream.
Oh, that's true. Should we put him full screen? His hands are
Oh,
right
look
in the
at that.
bubble.
Via Nick.
Oh, that's some crazy work.
Yeah, I feel like I just want to play background music and watch Tunji work. We'll seize the means of production and monetize Tunji's. We'll force him to serve two masters here. Just kidding, just kidding. Oh, Sherry doesn't like the bubble. Well, I do generally basically do a rule of if we get more than two people in, I'll take it off because it should be obvious. But there you go, Sherry, just for you.
Oh, by the way, speaking of the bubble, you being in the bubble while you make beats. Excellent visual choice.
Yeah, that was serendipitous, I guess. I was just messing around with the layouts, and I was like, "Oh, the circle can be in the bubble." And I just took a little bit of tweaking, but I did have to make a custom kind of screen for it. Shoot, my dog's gone under the porch. It's too nice of a day. He's probably going to just stay under there. But I got to watch him because he'll try to jump out of the backyard. Somebody asked an interesting question. I need to pull a Luke Thompson and disappear for a second.
This is where we need Neil. Neil's always got a topic.
Well, what did you guys think about Neil's? Go ahead, Nico.
There was a very interesting stream the other day with Neil. I jumped in right at the last moment, but it was too late, so we had to end it. But I feel there was a ton of things left to be said. I guess maybe it's because usually so many of the conversations are this kind of theological battles and existential angst. But if movies are the medium of the 20th century, I would say video games are the ones from the 21st. We kind of got into it for anyone who wants to go back and watch it, but there was so much more to go into.
Speak of the Daedalus.
Damn devil.
And dead ass a little bit.
Was that your American accent? That was pretty good.
Sorry, I was only following the conversation, so keep going, Nick.
I was ranting some time ago about art in general being kind of on a depression right now. I'm not seeing that there is enough movement, in movies, painting, music, whatever you want to say it. I was complaining about it, and I got into an argument. But after some time, I didn't realize that I was wrong. That because basically I was complaining that movies are not so good anymore. They're not as many. They don't come out as frequently and stuff like that. But you know what? Video games. Video games are still coming out really, really fast in big quantities. And you can tell when you look at the thing, for a lot of them, that the artists were really inspired and energized to make those things. So in the realm of video games, there is still a generative spirit. And, because TLC is, let's say, kneeling into the more respectable side of humanity, video games get kind of ignored around here.
Yeah, what I'm always curious about, is because I agree with you, Nico, that in general, kind of the mainstream art forms that we took for granted, or at least my generation took for granted growing up, I think it's still the art forms we take for granted. So cinema, TV shows, music. I think we've, in those three, those are kind of the big three, as I see them, as like the art forms that made me growing up. There's probably something I'm forgetting, but those are the three that come to mind. Well, video games actually would be number 4, but let's leave video games out. So of those three, to me, it's felt like we've hit a peak in quality sometime in the last 15 to 20 years. But I have a lot of difficulty separating out what's naturally my own bias towards the culture that formed me as an adolescent into my 20s. Like, that's the time of people's lives where they think the culture was best. That's automatically the nostalgic, like, oh, back in my day it was better, because those are the things that form us and imprint themselves on our hearts, you could say. But there's also what I would consider an objective quality to art. And so you always have to ask the question, objectively, is art better or worse than the previous? Or, I mean, you don't have to ask that question, but that's a question I'm really curious about. And I do believe in objectively better or worse music. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a Pareto distribution in any given art form. You could even define it as better is like what more people like more. And even if you just define it that way, it still exists. So, but I personally think it's beyond just personal inclinations in the moment. But yeah, so the question is like, okay, is the art, those three things, the music, the movies, the TV shows, is it not as good objectively as it was 10 to 15 years ago, or at least no better than it was 10 to 15 years ago? Or is that just my own nostalgic bias? So thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm having less and less patience to the nostalgia critique. So much so that maybe I will just start setting fire to people who do the nostalgia accusation. It's 2025. You go look at black and white movies, people who have never seen them. Let's see who wins.
But we could talk about it in relation to video games, Nick, because up until recently, I would say that what has allowed video games to get objectively better is 3D card advancement. So GPU, graphics card advancement, that allows better and better graphics. So that's an objective measure that, regardless of the quality of the storytelling, that was improving as you get closer and closer to real life fidelity. But now GPU and the gaming technology has reached a point where it's not much worse than watching a cinematic like Avatar level.
Yeah.
Yeah, Avatar level GPU. So we're almost at that same level within games where it's hitting the sort of postmodern breaking point where it's like, how do we get better from here? And then now all the same stories have to be recycled. So I bet you're going to see a lot. I mean, you're already seeing this with Blizzard, because Blizzard's most recent games have cratered, like Diablo 4 and whatnot. They just haven't done well. So Blizzard has to re-release the classics because the mechanics of the classics are so good. Like, the mechanics were done so well, and they can just upgrade the graphics, and then they can get another 10 million sales off of that game.
Which
Nico, wait, sorry.
they did update the graphics.
Nico, before you respond. Hi, Sherry.
Hello. I'm just trying to balance the equation. So I'm just sitting here.
You know, in the YouTube video game critique space, this is like a perennial. If it wasn't such a young place, it's like a perennial discussion. But I don't really see a lot of people doing the objectively good side of the argument. I do see people doing this game is good. But, I mean, I'm just going to say it. I feel the nostalgia critique is deployed quickly and without thinking, because it's a default in progressivism that everything that's old is bad. So the default is, oh, you like something that's old, that you're just nostalgic. You're going to be discarded like all the other old things. I've been listening to 70s music. It's just excellent. It's full of excellent music. I've been watching black and white movies. They just blow the modern competition completely out of the way. And in video games, I do think there's been an improvement. Because, a lot of people try to reinvent the wheel, and a lot of video games are trying to do the opposite. They're trying to become very nostalgic. So I feel that a lot of people have been able to grab what was good in the older era and then add new design, what would you call them? Ideologies. Modern video game design. What are these features called? Features that make the process of playing a game much more comfortable, not having to go through all of the busy work that some old games make you do. So you have all of the good stuff from old games and the good stuff from new design joined together in new indie games.
Can I ask?
And that's the best of both worlds.
This is just striking me actually at the moment. There's a lot of conversation around video games, and I find it. Well, I mean, I don't play video games, so I don't have a lot to contribute when the conversation revolves around them. But I was just wondering, how come there was never this much discussion around board games? Like, is a game a game, and what makes a video game so much more interesting to talk about than a board game? Is it because there's a visual world created?
Can I answer that one?
I mean, if you're playing Clue, you're also in a world, right? You're in a mansion, and you're a detective. You have a role, or you're playing Monopoly, it's the same idea. You know, you're a bigwig in the business world, and you're playing the market and trying to be a millionaire. So, what is it? What is it that promotes so much existential angst around video games?
It's think of it as a movie, Sherry. Like what brings people to a movie, except it's the participatory opportunity to actually change the movie or participate in the movie. So it's, I think for men, especially for boys, it's the ability to actually do, act. So the circuitry that fires that, men should do things, should create things, should build things, should.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's
I think there's
actually really interesting, because there's been a lot of conversation generated around Michael Martin's latest video. I don't know if any of you guys watched it, but he did a video on monks and knights, the difference between them, and he calls for more knights. And then I ended up in a discussion with an estuary group about this, and there seems to be a longing to be a knight. But then if you think about it, there's no avenue for a knight, right? There's no monarchy. There's no verticality, actually. That's what it is.
I think McMo actually figured that out, but go on.
What's that?
McMo figured out how to be a knight in the present age.
Yeah, well, I mean,
IDK about that, brother. You'd have to expound.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry to cut you off, Sherry. I was just deflecting Neil's compliment because I don't quite understand it, and even if I did understand it, I'd probably still deflect it. But what's coming? I want to hear what you were going to say, Sherry. But what's coming up for me is that there is like a super stimuli part of video games where they're like, you could look at it as like a super stimulus, in which it would be kind of like a bad thing, but you could also look at it as like it is a way for an increasingly number of young adult males to still access their imagination, because the kind of barriers of disbelief through the strength of technology is decreasing. So the amount of immersion is what makes it so compelling and so important for people like us who are still trying to, clean our rooms and begin to maybe hold the door open to manhood from boyhood. So it stands at that threshold, and it's kind of one of the big questions of, like, in this day and age, what does it mean to become a man? For a lot of people, that means they stop playing video games, and raise a child or whatever. So it kind of,
So
there's a lot of reasons why it's salient.
Just to clarify, so I understand you right. Are you saying then that it's a rite of initiation? Like it's a rite of passage, playing video games?
I think that it is a rite of passage now in most, like, modern day culture, as far as being like a health. Like, I think that we're kind of wanting it to be a more healthy rite of passage, instead of just a kind of just a game that we all played, right? Like patty cake or rock paper scissors. Like, not that there's much to be learned from rock paper scissors, but
well, I think
it's
I actually think that, like, all rites of passages are games, right? Like if you think about what they do in tribal culture, where oftentimes they kidnap the young man, right? So he's taken by surprise, and then he gets immersed into a world which is essentially a LARP, because he isn't anything yet, right? And he has to figure it out on his own, right? Which is a game. He has to find his way out of the labyrinth, right? And when he comes out on the other side, he's a man, right? And it's actually for the purpose in tribal culture of equipping a boy, to be able to protect and provide. Because in tribal culture, that's the role of the masculine, right? Is to look to protect and to provide.
Well, one thing to keep in mind, Sherry, is you have this divide within video games of single player and multiplayer. And I think single player is exactly what you describe. But multiplayer, it's really the only forum now where men truly have male-only spaces to rely on
Yeah.
one another and work toward common goals together.
Really? You think
I
it's
wouldn't
the
say,
only spot? You think it's the
I
only
wouldn't,
place?
yeah, I would say it's more because it's not exclusionary. Like there are girls that play these video games, but the ratio is such that it's maybe it's
No,
a
I
weird
don't mean
dynamic.
Yeah, it's
girls should
nothing.
be there.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
mean
like a
girls should
1
be
to
there, but I
20.
think,
Yeah.
don't you think that there's other spaces where men can
It's the bundle one.
do that
So
stuff?
What's the
Mary,
name?
you also, if young men have role models where they're doing things in physical reality with their fathers and with others, then the video game space is probably less essential. But the problem is you have maybe half the young men growing up without active fathers in their lives. And it's healthier than being part of a gang. You know, the previous form of this would be part of a gang and doing things. Whereas at least in a virtual space, the consequences are a little bit less intense. And you learn to relate to other people and make jokes and hang. It's like the Peterson hangout spot for young men that you
Yeah.
talked about,
Yeah.
but it's in an online space.
But I wonder
Yeah.
how much of the fact that you don't have to get off your couch contributes to it.
Yeah, no, that is the problem because it is a safer space and it requires less, let's say, sacrifice in terms of like true work and difficulty. And so you know, you could say we each tend to regress towards the simplest, easiest thing
It
that
gives
catches our
you
attention in the moment.
the satisfaction of doing something, but you're really not doing that, and you are not taking the same risk.
Okay, well, here's something for you guys. Here's something to think about, and then I'll be quiet. I've been discussing this whole idea of knighthood and versus monkhood, and in relation to online spaces, even with Michael Martin, and because I have a lot of questions about it, I'm very genuinely curious about it, and he actually challenged me with the idea that the online space is a form of monasticism.
Well, I think it's a great place. I think it's a great place for monasticism. I think that I would have to watch the video, so I don't want to like butcher his metaphor. But I do not think the problem is that we don't have enough knights. I tend to think that the number of knights and monks that the Lord wants on the earth, He sends to earth. And I mean that literally, but I also mean that like in terms of just disposition, right? Like
Yeah,
there are.
I'm on the same page as you, McMo, but I want him to change my mind, because here's the thing, I trust him, and that's my problem. If I didn't know Michael Martin from a hole in the ground, then I wouldn't want him to change my mind.
But I would also say that, like, you know, for people here, like in my streams, the monk predisposition is also what's, I think, leading to the video game thing, because I know for Neil in particular, the types of video games Neil loves and loves to make are the types of video games that are more like movies, and that would be a very monk-like behavior, right? Like reading literature and you know, in service of God, kind of a thing. And so that kind of like experience with narrative, with story, with symbol, that kind of layer of the stack, I do think that like video games are very helpful. The problem is that like half of the video games are literally about being a knight. And so you've got all these monks LARPing as knights. And then
and then Yosef made, because I was talking about it on the Discord, Girl Country Discord, Yosef made the point that in Judaism, those things are integrated in the man. He's both the monk and the knight, in a sense, right? So, like, is our problem that we're either oring everything again, as usual? Okay, I'll be quiet now.
I don't know if it's a either oring or if it's just that the what we see in the diversity of human beings is the kind of two poles of a spectrum type of thing. And you can kind of make those maps onto a wide variety of phenomena. But what's striking me too is just the way in which what often gets missed in these spaces is the physical. Like all male spaces definitely exist, and it's like in sports. But there's also a way in which that too is kind of like a threshold into quote unquote manhood because I know a lot of like men children who their life revolves around um, what other men are doing somewhere, and uh, other men playing a game is the most important thing to them, and it's because they've had all this, like a lifelong amount of participation, whether it be playing the sport or watching the sport growing up. And so I think that sports and video games kind of represent a real, maybe it is another one of those either ors, even though there's plenty of guys who are like professional athletes who also game, and there's plenty of gamers who like do push-ups or whatever. But like, I think it's in terms of that like jock versus nerd dichotomy. Um, yeah, there's plenty of metaphors I think that kind of pair that out.
Yeah, like I'm just wondering if the way Michael Martin is seeing it is a form of like maybe the online space. I'm just thinking out loud. The online space is like monasticism in his mind because it's people are capsuled off in their cells in a sense, right? Even if they are participating, like monks live in community,
You
but
know
they're
what I
very
think it
much,
is, Sherry?
I don't know, I'm just thinking.
I I think that Michael Martin is actually trying to put a little bit of a sneaky ploy to gin up some conflict and some drama because he knows that Roger of the Benedict option is going to be at Northwestuary 2025. And so I think that Michael's wanting to set himself up as, anti Benedict option.
Oh, he's been anti-monastic for a long time, McMo.
Anti monastic?
Hmm. Yeah, because for him it boils down to fertility versus infertility.
What does
Yeah,
he make of?
is the knight
Go ahead.
really related to fertility? Didn't knights have to swear off all of their inheritance in order to become part of an order? I don't understand this relation between knights and fertility. I thought knights were like monks with swords.
No, I think the Templars were monks and knights. They were the first order that became both. So they were celibate, but I honestly don't know if knights had to swear off
Well, I
the.
think that so much of this is clouded by the like political and cultural zeitgeist that the effeminate was in vogue for a solid like 15 to 20 years. And with the election of Trump, it really does feel like the boys are back in town. And so I think that there's a lot of like swings and misses in terms of what one could actually call an ideal because it's just so clouded by like if a knight turned out to be a monk, then the new kind of like cool thing to be would be like, oh, I'm going to be a barbarian. Like Jesus needs more barbarians because I do think that there's enough of that just kind of Nietzschean will to power that gets mangled within a type of masculine ideal so that like the the worst among us can, if they're shrewd enough, can play the role of a knight while being a tyrant. And so, yeah, I think that there's something like that going on with a lot of this,
Well,
but that's not to take away from the actual the symbol of a knight, right? Which we think of as chivalrous and serving the king and all of these things, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just something on my mind that I'm talking about. Oh, Grizz, have you got any
Grizz is here
insight?
to tell us
Grizz is here to
Tell
tell
us
us that
what a
all
night is, Chris.
he's here to tell us that all video games are evil Peter Pan land, and that only he is allowed to be Peter Pan or Captain Hook and stay in Neverland despite being an adult. The rest of us have to grow up, bucko.
No, I was just going to introduce the concept of peasantry.
Oh yes, that's my.
We're not
That's
monks
what I.
and we're not knights. We're peasants, and it's like the default is you go to high school, you get a thing, you do your job, and then when you're not doing your job, you get to do whatever you want. And there ain't fuck all for princesses anymore because they're in the office, so there's no reason to be a knight. So you can like sit at home and watch Netflix, or go to barbecues and watch sports games, or you
Well,
can
this
play
is
video
interesting.
games.
That's an
But
interesting. That's
that's
super
what it
interesting,
is.
Grizz. Because if I was going to boil that down, I would say that because the gender roles are so ambiguous, the knight has lost his orientation in a sense, right? Like he doesn't have anything to orient to.
I was real
And
disappointed growing up that we couldn't grow up to be ninjas or samurais or honorable anything. It was like, go make dollars. That's all that it's about, making dollars.
well, there is a train of thought that says that because the woman left her natural role, the men turned in on themselves. So if you took that to a spiritual level, you could talk about the absence of divine feminine in the world.
I think that sometimes we identify too strongly with our gender, and that's kind of what got us into this mess to begin with. Um, like I take it seriously that in Christ there is neither male nor female, but I'm not trying to say that just to be devil's advocate or be McWoke, but more so to, once again, I need to make the branding, but once again to pull the Kierkegaard card and to say that like you got to be you, and it's like you're definitely not a knight, and if you're on my stream, you're probably not a monk. You're just some guy out there, or you're some lady. But this is also the Sherry point. Like our true identity is found in Christ. We are children of God, and I think that so much of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, what are the roles, what do the tribal elders say, what does the Apostle Paul say, what does the Talmud teach? Like all of that stuff to me is great, but it can oftentimes be used as an escape from our own kind of individual situatedness in which we've had our life, and the things that have happened to us have happened to us. And so it can be an evasion of that kind of just true existential angst of what does it mean to be me? And it's like, maybe if I know what it means to be a man, I can know what it means to be me. Or maybe if I know what it means to be an American, I can know what it means to be. Maybe if I understand what it means to be white, I can understand what it means to be me. And I think that the like horrifying truth of the matter is that what it means to be you is being you. And we just don't really like sitting with that.
Right, but so video games are Neverland, and to the extent that we're going there, we have the cover of it being mission work.
Yeah.
And or we never made it out, whichever. But that, especially because entertainment is dollars and there's careers paths built around it, or there were. And I mean, this AI thing, you guys. That's where the youth is, like, and it is super normal stimuli, and the reason they call it super normal is because the scientists got a bird to let her young die, so they could so she could sit on the super normal egg. It overrides your biological pre-programming at a primate level. I mean, it's shinier than anything else in the house, and so but
and it's blue light. There's a project about big blue lights. I don't know if you guys have heard of that project.
I like to do the imaginary exercise of all the screens as crystal balls. And so, like,
Gotcha.
you walk into a room and, like, there's just people sitting on a couch with a crystal ball going, instead of holding a phone, because we're used to seeing it as a phone. But anyway, yeah, so that's. But as far as the experience of video games, I think the best way for you to understand it is like you're reading a book, except you decide what the protagonist does. Like you get as deep imaginarily in that world as one does when they're reading a fiction book, right? But meanwhile, you're swinging the arms when he throws a punch, by pressing your thumb. And so, I mean, it's super normal. It's super normal book reading on one level.
But the thing is that that same dynamic, it also happens with books, especially with novels. Notice that, isn't it kind of similar, the place where people end up, they hunch over their phone and they start looking, they spend a lot of time looking at the phone. But when people get to read a good book, or maybe a book that's very enthralling, they also get into that, they fall over into the book. And they haven't moved from the spot. Plato used to complain about books.
Yeah. And writing.
You only know that because of a book.
And away went the fairy godfather.
Did we lose? Oh, there he is.
Chad, welcome, brother. What are you thinking?
Good morning. I just wanted to read the lectionary this morning for you guys. If you're cool with it.
All right, I like it. 5 shift.
All right. Or is it a vibe shift? Okay. The lessons for today. A reading from the book of Nehemiah. Nehemiah, yes. All the people gathered as one man into the square before the water gate, and they told Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses that the Lord had commanded Israel. So Ezra, the priest, brought the law before the assembly, both men and women and all who could understand what they heard, on the first day of the 7th month. And he read from it facing the square before the water gate from early morning until midday, in the presence of the men and the women and those who could understand, and the ears of all the people who were attentive to the book of the law. And Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people, for he was above all the people. And as he opened it, all the people stood. And Ezra blessed the Lord, the great God, and all the people answered, Amen, Amen, lifting up their hands. And they bowed their heads and worshipped the Lord with their faces to the ground. They read from the book, from the law of God, clearly, and they gave the sense so that the people understood the reading. And Nehemiah, who was the governor, and Ezra, the priest and scribe, and the Levites who taught the people, said to all the people, this day is holy to the Lord your God. Do not mourn or weep. For all the people wept as they heard the words of the law. Then he said to them, Go your way, eat the fat and drink sweet wine, and send portions to anyone who has nothing ready. For this day is holy to our Lord, and do not be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Okay, that was one of them. And then Psalm 19.
Chad's finally taking his position as Pope seriously, and I love it.
Psalm 19. The law of the Lord is perfect and revives the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure and gives wisdom to the innocent. The statutes of the Lord are just and rejoice the heart. The commandment of the Lord is clear and gives light to the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean and endures forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, more than much fine gold, sweeter by far than honey in the comb. By them also is your servant enlightened, and in keeping them there is great reward. Who can tell how often he offends? Cleanse me from my secret faults. Above all, keep your servant from presumptuous sin. Let them not get dominion over me. Then shall I be whole and sound and innocent of a great offense. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and redeemer. Then there's like another reading from the Paul's letter to the Corinthians. I don't know if you guys want me to do all this, but the one that really caught me was the Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to St. Luke 4:21 through 30. And then Jesus said to them, "Today the scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing." And all spoke well of him and marveled at the gracious words that were coming from his mouth. And they said, Is not this Joseph's son?" And he said to them, "Doubtless you will quote to me this proverb, physician, heal yourself. What have we heard, or what we have heard you did at Capernaum, do here in your hometown as well?" And then he said, "Truly I say to you, no prophet is acceptable in his hometown. But in truth I tell you, there were many widows in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the heavens were shut up 3 years and 6 months, and had great famine came over all the land. And Elijah was sent to none of them, but only to Zaphatat, or in the land of Sidon, to a woman who was a widow. And there were many lepers in Israel in the time of the prophet Elisha. And none of them was cleansed, but only Naaman the Syrian. And when they heard these things, all in the synagogue were filled with wrath. And they rose up and drove him out of the town, and brought him to the brow of a hill on which there was the town was built, so that they could throw him off the cliff. But passing through their midst, he went away. That one was like striking to me this morning. Yep. So that's I wanted to read. Sorry if I bothered you guys.
No, it's only a small amount of time before the Friday morning empire gobbles up the poor McMo stream. So this was a good taste of what it would be like. But no, I appreciate you reading that. So what about that story of like Jesus in his hometown stood out? Had you heard that story before?
I have, yeah. I just never read it in the Bible. I only heard it in the in the Chosen show in that context. And so to hear it in the Bible was interesting. And I don't know, like I woke up this morning with a poem on my heart that I couldn't write. I had this, I don't know if it was a nightmare or a dream, but it was I had this terrible and I don't know what to make of it. And I don't even know all the details other than like the tight gist of it. And when I woke up, I remembered part of it. Part of it was there was I had witnessed from like some distance a father and his daughter of no no high ground, no status whatsoever, just very kind of poor people, but very content in their life, and they had been somehow killed or extinguished. And the like a question was posed to me in this dream, something like, not, it wasn't like the problem of evil, but it was like the opposite of it. It was really weird. You know, the problem of evil is how could a god, or why could a god do something like this? And the question that was posed to me was the opposite. It's like, if you can see why a god could do this, then you could see something very important. And that troubled me this morning when I woke up, and it was with me all morning. So yeah, it was like, it's like the opposite of nihilism, you know, because like you could take the nihilistic, like, wow, like these people of, you know, just completely average people were lived very short lives, and their lives were extinguished. It means nothing. But then the what I got out of it was it actually means everything. So I don't know what to make of that. Corn cob.
That's really interesting, Chad, because I think I woke up this morning and I had some like crazy dreams too, and which I don't have very often anymore. And I don't remember much either, but what was going through my mind was you are text, number, and story. And that's from a book that I've been reading. And basically, that is what your life is. So text is absolute, the things that you can't change, physics, laws of physics, you know, all that kind of thing. Number is process or time, and story is that which interprets both text and number and adds a makes it dynamic instead of static. And that's and because we're all three, we're not either or, we're not either text, number, or story. That's essentially what a life is. It seems related to me. I don't know if it's hitting any notes with you, but it feels related to me because it doesn't matter how long that life is, actually. Right? As a life, it's fulfilled as is. Like we think of things being cut short because we think in linear time. But there is no such thing as linear time. Really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, just popped in my head because it feels like the tail end of whatever you were thinking about.
Yeah, one of the things, the intuitions that I got from the dream was like, the more that I try to understand what has happened, the more in vain what happened it becomes. And the less I try to understand it, the more in vain it becomes. It's this really weird thing. I don't know how to explain that. But yeah.
Oh, that's if you go to Jonathan Demere's channel and watch his short conversation with Stephen, they touch on that in this way. Oh shoot! Now I don't know if I can reiterate what they said. Chaos and order. That's what they were talking about. So if the signal is too loud, it's chaotic and there's nothing. But if the signal is gone, there's also nothing, right? Which would be order, like where there's no signal. And that it feels to me like what you were just saying. When there's, when you're trying to make sense of it, there's nothing. And if you're not trying to make sense of it, there's nothing. Right?
Yeah, and the book of Ecclesiastes was ringing in my head too this morning. It had felt like it, even though I've never read the book in its entirety. I'm gonna stop talking now, but McMosa, you're muted, bro.
I knew that. I was seeing if you guys knew that. It's making me think of that Matthew Pajot video, not the most recent, but the one before the most recent, where he's talking about dreams and the language of renewal. And so whenever I've had dreams now since watching that, one of the vectors that I've used to kind of think about it has been, what was maybe my subconscious or my brain or whatever, what was it trying to renew, right? And so I don't know, that might be a fruitful question, but it's not always clear for every dream, right? But and to be honest, I'm not the best. Like, I usually forget my dreams completely. I did see Mary's, the Mother of God's parents, in a dream the other night, and I knew that was who it was in the dream. So that's weird.
Oh, cool.
But other than that, yeah, I normally have very like normal dreams, and I don't mean like the dreams are normal in the fact that they're weird, just like everybody else's. I mean, my dream will literally be just like standing around at a party with people I know, like I would have done like two weeks ago or something. But then one little thing will be off. And what will be bothering me is that like I'm the only person in the whole dream that knows that this one little thing is wrong. Like so-and-so has a mustache and never has that. Or like one of my female friends, her hair will be a completely different color, like crazy, like purple hair or something. And so usually my dreams are either that or it's like so clear what it's meant to be about that I feel embarrassed telling other people because it's like this was a dream sent to me to show me that something I'm doing in my life is incredibly stupid and embarrassing, and I don't want to talk about it.
Well, that's when you have to ask the question: Do I want to let you guys into my mind?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey there.
Hey, Tunji.
Yeah, I see somebody is calling me out in the chat.
Yeah, look at that.
So I have to say something. I have to say something probably in defense of the linear time against the circular or non-linear kind of time. It's and I think Marcel says that is anti-incarnational. I don't know if you grasp why an idea of time being non-linear is anti-incarnational. You have an idea of that? Incarnational.
Are you talking about
who?
Yeah, I'm asking you if you have an intuition already why he says that non-linear kind of time is already pointing to a direction to be anti-incarnational.
Yes, I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I could see why he would say that. That makes sense to me because in some sense I think that's true.
Yeah.
There is.
But
it's not just.
It's a.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
there is the fact that
I would. Go ahead.
The way that Christianity broke into the world, the framework of paganism, was that the Son of God, in a specific time, in a specific place, became a man, and that transformed really the whole conception of time, where there were cycles over cycles and things that repeated. Now we have a before and we have an after, that a precise point, and then God put a cross on that point in space and time. So that circularity of event and meaning, it was shattered. Now we have we live in a time where there was a redemption moment in history, and we are waiting for the second coming to close up that event, that period, finally. So even if still there is some repetitiveness in the way that we experience love and we understand the meaning of the things, still in a Christian, specifically and uniquely Christian worldview, we broke out from that. We are free from that wheel of kind of samsara. I think that's to me is a better worldview than the previous one.
This makes me think of last night. I was making dinner, and Anne was sharing with me about one of her new coworkers, who happens to be so she's training this new coworker who's from like out of state or something, and she is a Jehovah's Witness, and we're like, well, what does that mean? I don't know what they think or believe, and so she started reading to me kind of like the origins of Jehovah's Witness and where they come from and what they believe, and then we moved on from there to Christian Science, and moved on from there, and we just explored we started reading about all these different belief structures who are so-called Christian, and man, what a mess. And it's kind of like this terrible mess, but like this, like I was thinking about what if those people actually believe, like, are like some, because I know some of them actually believe it and they make sense of it somehow, like in as much as you can make sense of religion at all. And then I was thinking about, like, what about like just the nominal Jehovah's Witness, right? Like they just go and to their church with their family because that's what you do. And like I was thinking about that and thinking about that as it relates to salvation and this different kinds of stuff. And now I'm kind of thinking about all that as it relates to the dream that I had, and the, like this idea of these people of Nazareth wanting to throw their neighborhood, their homeboy off the cliff because he's, like, I don't know what to think about this, but I have to go think about it more and take a rest now. But man, do I love you guys. Sorry if I've taken over your stream, McMo. And I'll be seeing you guys around.
Bye, Chad. Thanks for stopping by. You're always welcome to come take over my stream at any time. Not all of you have that, what would be called blessing on coming over and taking my stream. But Chad has that blessing. He can come over and take over my stream all he wants. I'll leave the rest of the list for a later date on who should feel comfortable coming on and taking over my stream and who shouldn't. But for now, Chad can do it. Well, Tunji, have you had any other thoughts since you've been sitting there listening to all of us? I feel like you've probably got as good of an idea over the whole kind of flow of conversation as any of us. Also, Joe, you haven't spoken in a while. Nico, be happy to hear your thoughts on dreams or time or anything, any of the parts of the lectionary that Chad wrote or that Chad read.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on that because I'm not theologically savvy enough.
I already forgot. I'm not paying much attention. Sorry.
Tunji, how could you? How could you, Tunji? I was trusting on you.
It's not that kind of thing. It's I was just being virtually not alone.
I hear you. Well, Sherry hates it, but I should probably put up the bubble since you mentioned it. He said it, Sherry. I can't be held accountable or responsible. He said the thing, so we have to be virtually.
You gotta make it manifest. You gotta make it manifest.
We have to be virtually not alone. Joe, you ever had a crazy dream that you didn't understand? That you feel comfortable telling us about? Dreams can be very crazy.
Usually, my dreams I'm falling. Really help and really,
Falling?
yeah. To wake up, it's a really good alarm clock. When I really need to get up in the morning, I dream I'm on the top of a skyscraper or something. I hit the ground and then I wake up.
So are you a lucid dreamer?
No. I don't really even remember my dreams. Do you remember your dreams?
I probably remember about maybe 1 or 2 a week. I've had a recent uptick, probably for like the last 4 months or so. I've been remembering more of my dreams.
Wow. Yeah. I have no idea. I just go to bed and then wake up.
Newest mod on the McMo stream channel. Yon God. Putting the blame on Tayo for making Chad get tired or need to leave or whatever. No, you didn't deflate my stream, Chad. This is the chill stream. We're already deflated as much as we can be. We're here to relax, brother. Yep, Tayo taking some ownership. We love to see it. We love to see it. Well, I guess it's technically my responsibility to keep the conversation going. Since we've kind of reached this moment of silence. If you've got a question for the panel, feel free to put it in the chat. I think all of us are kind of at a state of, well, do we keep talking about dreams or do we keep talking about time? Or, is there a disagreement that we could get in? That'd be fun.
It's just that there were topics.
A disagreement on chill stream?
As long as we keep it chill, we can disagree.
I'm leaving.
No.
Tayo and Cassandra's long-standing relationship of positive vibes is coming to an end in my stream, the chill stream. Good grief, folks! What are we doing? We need a branding cleanse? We need some McMo radio. I don't know what.
Here, look. See what I'm making? See what I'm making?
Oh, what is that?
It's a cowl for your neck.
Ooh, keep you warm on a cold winter's night.
Yeah. It's hand spun. The pink or purple color is Angora that I spun a long time ago, and then the other one's just a crunchy wool.
Yeah, Luke, come in and say something spicy. Save the stream. Well, did you see the earlier part of the stream, Sherry, where Luke was sick and he was probably in his bathtub? I can neither confirm nor deny. And he was just like, basically, I was making chill music, and then he came in and wanted to say, like, do you think that there's a stream of anti-intellectualism in the corner? And I was like, I answered his question, but in my heart of hearts, what I felt, and I should have said, forgive me, Luke, for not speaking my mind. I should have said, man, this is a chill stream. Why are you bringing me down, Luke? But that's okay. Everything is allowed here that YouTube allows.
But the answer was yes, isn't it? The answer was yes. Did you answer to Luke?
Yeah. The answer was yes. Yeah. Okay. I do think there is.
Just to be clear.
Yeah, I don't think that it's more prevalent here than it is in the rest of the world. If anything, it's less here than it is on average in the rest of the world.
Probably.
But I also said that those who point towards a type of idolatry of the intellect are right to do so, even if they present the argument sloppily.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the problem. It's about somebody would say modern and wrong understanding of what the intellect is, as if there is some kind of higher, more pure, noble humanity or human nature without or beside the intellect, you know. So if you make this duality, then you imagine that there is something better. So it's easy to be tempted to go anti-intellectual.
Right. Yeah. It's tempting for all of us, probably for some topics.
Yeah.
Luke says it's interesting to pay attention to when anti-intellectualism pops up, in his opinion. I wonder if that's because he considers most of the critiques against him anti-intellectual. He, the ultimate intellect. That's the tact you should take, Luke. Next time somebody disagrees with you, you should accuse them of being an anti-intellectual.
Yeah, but the anti-intellectualism can only come from an intellectual position. There is no other way around, because the ignorant doesn't not bother to be anti-intellectual. It's just ignorant. It's a particular kind of intellectual that wants to be anti-intellectual. So it's by necessity. Otherwise, it's just ignorance. Yeah.
I would say maybe. I mean, I come from a culture of Southern Baptist kind of fundamentalist, self-admitted anti-intellectual. That there's more to life than what's written in them damn books, son. That kind of culture. And so I think that there are a lot of people who are anti-intellectual as a disposition, irrespective of their IQ. And the extent to which it's a problem, I think, comes when it causes you to act unlovingly towards someone or to hinder someone from thinking as unto the Lord, right? We have to be able to think in a way that's pleasing to the Lord. And so if your solution to the world's problems is just not to think about it, that's a type of anti-intellectualism that doesn't require any type of intellectualism to, that doesn't require the contradiction that you were pointing to, I guess.
Yeah, that's true, because the problem is that it's a misdirected sentiment, because we always came from realizing a lack of love, a lack of care, and because maybe there is something to it, like maybe those that are unloving and uncaring are also intellectual in some way, some superficial way. Then you can say, yeah, the problem with their unlovingness is their intellectualism, when instead you should be able to distinguish from bad intellectualism and good one, because that's the problem. I had also, I grew up also in a place where philosophy was kind of a bad word. I didn't have problem to study science to the highest degree, but my parents were afraid that if you study philosophy, then you become an heretic or something, and then or you get strange ideas, and I don't know, maybe you become a Calvinist or something. So all sort of restriction on that. But that's a problem that you just have to get to the fact that there is good philosophy and there is bad philosophy, and there is no way around. That's the only two options that you have. So there is good reasoning, there is bad reasoning, and there is not a third option. That's all that there is. So you you cannot protect yourself from bad idea with other bad ideas or no ideas at all. You cannot plead ignorance when you are to the point to confront your own opinion. You have to say, okay, are they good or are they bad? There is no third way that says doesn't matter, or you can ignore it, but you have to be aware that you are just ignoring the conflict altogether.
Do you think that this is a result of the fall of eating the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Because there's obviously a third between the good and the bad, which would be like pre that knowledge of good and evil, in a sense like an animal,
No.
right?
Well, in some
Or is
way,
that just, like,
everybody.
good?
Yeah, but that's the problem. There was knowledge of good and evil before they were eating the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. But was God deciding since creation what was good and what was bad? It was the prerogative of God to tell this is good and this is bad. And God pointed at Adam and Eve that everything in the garden is good for you, except that tree there in the middle of the garden that is the tree of knowledge of good and bad. That is bad for you. It's so bad that if you eat, you will die. So there was knowledge of good and evil. There was presented to human being, but that discernment was prerogative of God. So when they eat of the fruit that met a tree, they decided, okay, I'm gonna establish now what is good and what is bad. So God may have said that that was bad, but Eve saw the fruit and she saw that was good for eating. So she decided, no, that's not, maybe that's not really bad, that's good. So in thinking that, that is already the reaching, the grabbing of the fruit. So that's the judgment that it's made, that was prerogative of God, that was made by human being, that they become like gods at that point, not ontologically, but in the fact that they grab from the self that that judgment that was not for them at that point, at least. So yeah, that's a bigger picture. You know, you can put everything. Everything you can categorize it as a consequence of that that decision, but essentially it's not simply just intellectual. You know, that's really the problem. It's not, you cannot put into the box of, okay, this is an intellectual. That's the reason against the nature or something.
So I can't tell if you're saying that intellectualism or the intellect is how we grasp the good, or if you're saying that the disposition of just being anti-reason or anti-thinking is bad. Because what's popping into my head is just like the problem of people with mental disabilities, right? Because if they're good, they're good, and if they're bad, sure. But it certainly doesn't seem to me
That's
that it
a
would
lot
be
of
a
noise, by the
function of
way.
their intellect, right?
Yeah, what's that noise?
What's the noise?
I think
Let's
that's
fix
Nick.
it.
I think that's Nick. I'm gonna mute Nick. Ah.
Oh, much better. We should address those things first. In a
Well,
live
some
stream.
people are some people have high sound disgust sensitivity. I do not. I like the bleeps and the bloops.
Yeah, I understand. Can you reframe your question, because I understand that your first point was so big that we can get disoriented by even my point. What did you ask again?
Well, I'm not gonna remember it word for word, but it was basically like, is there hope for those of us with intellectual disabilities? Do dum-dums make it to heaven, or do you have to judge rightly and discern well to participate in the good?
Well, of course, that's not the. Yeah, I don't think we are talking about that.
So if
everyone reason according to the capacity that one has to reason, and God is not going to judge you for what you are not able to do. That's.
But earlier you said you can't plead ignorance.
Yeah, but the person that you describe can plead the ignorance. So.
Okay. They get a special dispensation for being
No,
dum-dums.
I mean you can plead ignorance in as much as you are ignorant. But if I was making the case against the anti-intellectualist position, to say that is actually an intellectual one is not a position from ignorance. To make that case, you only make it if you have gone through a certain reasoning, not because you don't get there automatically. You have to get there through some reasoning. You have to reason through to that position, and then you have to make intellectually that case for anti-intellectualism. It's not an ignorant one. That was the point. So once you get there, you cannot say, "Yeah, but your argument is so intellectual. I don't have to address it," because your position is also intellectual. I'm not arguing against ignorance there.
I gotcha. That helps clarify for me. Deep waters. I mean, this has been a very voice chat like stream. I've really appreciated it. I mean, we've even got Nico with the bad sound effects in the background. It's like, it's so voice chat.
Yeah, we haven't argued, me and Nico, about the Roman Empire yet. I was that would be the true experience.
What do you think about the Roman Empire and the woke right, Tunji?
I watched the video from Metatron today, the one on Elon Musk unfortunate movement of the upper body, and explaining that was not even a thing in ancient Rome.
Well, that makes it okay. That makes it totally fine.
No, there was an historical context. But on the contrary, I was reading more on the Stoic and Seneca, that is a contemporary of Jesus. And one thing that I love discovering of that period of time is that the maturation of time for the incarnation, for the first coming of the Son of God, was not just sometimes you in Bible study group you have pointed to the technological fittedness of the time, the time we're ready with the roads, with the language, but also spiritually, intellectually, there was a preparation, even philosophical preparation for the gospel to come at that right time. And just nice to study and to learn these things.
Yeah, so you had never kind of heard that line of thinking of like that Socrates and Greek philosophy was similar to the Roman road. It kind of did.
Yeah, but that's already 400 years, 300 and then 200. But when you get to the first century, AC, BC and DC, that's kind of a culmination, I was because the Socratic and the Platonic, they are more popular, of course, but there is a gap that needed to be bridged yet. Some couple of centuries of gap.
Oh, I guess I'm not as familiar with that. I mean, maybe that's. I still haven't read all of the apocrypha, as we Protestants call it. But is it more than just that? What were some of the voices or groundwork being laid kind of in that interstitial period?
Well, the Stoics, the like the one that I mentioned, Seneca and the Epictetus, that start to bring the moral arguments more to the forefront. There is kind of an absolute, not absolute, but greater understanding of the virtues. In a sense, it's a preparing a way for preparing a way, the way for the Lord. There is a sense that the value of life, even in a more social kind of topic, like slaves and free, noble or poor, there is more of an understanding of the value of life of everyone. It's still very little, but it's leaps and bounds from the previous century. Even with Aristotle, it's still old school kind of anthropology when it comes to difference in classes and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I think I've probably unfairly dismissed Seneca and never been that interested, just because of people like Ryan Holiday and Tim Ferriss and some people I'm connected to in my personal life that I'm not going to dox, who just love the Stoics and love Seneca. And I don't particularly respect the type of stoicism that they practice. And so I've kind of just been like, yeah, this stuff kind of just like sucks or whatever. So you're encouraging me that I should probably take a closer and more generous look at some of the Stoic literature. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah, also good stuff. But yeah, I am very Christianocentric when I read stuff. It's to me it's all context. It's not substance in itself. I am openly biased when I read philosophy, and yeah, that's my standard of judgment.
Phoebus says that was a monk move, or he's saying that his own actions in the comments today have been monk moves, which is pretty funny. Yeah, we need to be making lots of monk moves. Knight moves are obvious. Monk moves, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is up to. There's a lot of people around these parts who I've seen their left hand and their right hand are passing notes. Nico, are you familiar with any of the Stoicism or the or Seneca that kind of led the way for Christian thought?
What I am more curious about the night storm. Can somebody explain to me what was the point of what kind of night was proposed by Michael Martin?
A fertile night.
You can no. You can watch it on his channel, Tunji. It's not very long. He doesn't really. I think he has a definition of knighthood that would probably fall under a medieval literary category. So, and I think that is probably what is missing in the corner when we talk about these things so by the by in the way that we do. We use words, but everybody has their own conception of what those things mean. So we talked about it recently in an estuary, and somebody read a definition of what a knight is. And so it seems to me to be a character. There's a character. Because we don't have a monarchy, and there is no actual, you can't just join up and be a knight somewhere. You actually have to cultivate the character that a knight would have had.
Sherry, there is a place where you can sign up to be a knight. It's called the Ren Fair, and you can LARP hard at the Ren Fair.
But anyway, so you could watch Michael Martin's video, and you could look up the definition of knight, medieval knight, and that would maybe give you a better idea.
So it's about the virtues. It's about being virtuous. Being.
You said ambition. I thought you said it, so it's about the bitches. That accent is rough.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with that. Virtues. VIRTUE.
Virtues.
Virtues. Yes, that word is about that, being a knight.
That's my question.
And what are those?
Because there's no place for a knight in our society. What if you want to be a knight? What do you have to do to become one? And I would imagine that you might have to cultivate a character of a knight. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good. But because it's not the princess that made you a knight. You are a knight, therefore you go for the princess.
And I think
but you are a knight because
that is
of
most
your...
important. One of the things that's most important to remember about knighthood, that it's in service to the highest, right? So there's a verticality to knighthood, which there also is in monkhood, which is why Yosef's comment to me was interesting, because why we have to create a dichotomy between the two, which seems to be a very Christian move, actually. A lot of dualism in Christianity compared to Judaism.
Well, the Templars were controversial, that's for sure. They put them together for a while, and it was not unanimously appreciated as a choice.
Right.
The monk knight, that's what a Templar is.
What I thought about when I was listening and talking to Michael about it was that a lot of the Celtic monks were not necessarily knights, but maybe a more pedestrian view of what knighthood is. A lot of them were soldiers that were traumatized, actually, in Celtic Christianity. And they couldn't fight anymore. And the only option they had to get out of fighting was to become a monk, actually. There was a clause in the social contract for them. And which is also why nonviolence became a part of their ethic, right? And vegetarianism.
Yeah.
It's all very interesting.
But there is a lot of clarifying to do with the chronology there, because the things have shifted a couple of times, 2 or 3 times during history, with that on that basis of what a monk should or should not do, and what a knight should or should not be. A knight was not a monk since the beginning.
This is not a generality. This is specific to Celtic Christianity, just to be sure that you heard that.
Oh. Yeah, which period would that be? I'm not familiar with it.
Well, I think St. Columba would be kind of the first of that kind. I think he was actually a retired soldier, or one that chose a life of monasticism over fighting for some power-hungry lord. in his life.
Okay. When was it?
I don't know exactly. Can anybody look it up? I can't.
I guess that should be my job.
Saint Columba. I'm thinking it might be the 6th century, but maybe I'm too far ahead. I can't remember.
Columba or Columcille was an Irish abbot and missionary evangelist credited with spreading Christianity in what is today Scotland at the start of the Hiberno Scottish mission. He founded the important abbey on Iona, which became a dominant religious and political institution in the region for centuries. Born December 7th, my birthday, December 7th, 571 AD. He's a Sagittarius baby, like your boy. And then he died June 9th, 597 AD, age 75 years.
I guess it's still a crusader kind of time.
Yeah, that kind of 500 AD. I got a buddy who thinks that basically between the year 1 and the year 1000, there were not that many years. That there were many less years, maybe perhaps even 0 years. And that all of the Middle Ages are fabricated.
That's a good one.
That's a fun one, right?
Yeah.
Look into it. That's all I'm saying. Look into it.
That's a conspiracy that I heard before, and Green Grease didn't told about that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I've got people who are so far ahead of Grim Grizz you wouldn't believe it, Tunji.
There is no bottom.
Grim Grizz is about 10 years behind in terms of conspiracy theories. Probably too many video games. You know, he hasn't kept up to the latest. He's not even following the Q drops, right? If you don't know what the Q drops are, then I don't know what to tell you. We're definitely going to get this. Actually, if you say the conspiracy theory enough ahead of time, if you're quick enough on the draw, YouTube doesn't even know that people are onto it yet. Unless they take this down, then we'll know that the Middle Ages are fake.
I mean, why not? Why not?
I mean, yeah, that is one of those ones where if you're like, prove it, it's be very, very difficult.
There is enough amount of truth to convince somebody who doesn't want to believe something somebody says. Yeah.
Tunji, what are you working on today? What is that?
It's a decoration for the mandolin. I'm doing all the inlays.
Will you hold it up to the camera? I'm going to make you full screen.
So that's, by the way, that's Nico design that I stick to the.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool. Nico designed that?
Yeah. I try to get the light. Of course, it's still raw. There need to be. I just stick to it. But you can see the 4 different colors of wood, and then there will be another here.
If we had some viewers who were interested in purchasing the Nico design, 2 questions. 1, where could they purchase it? And 2, how much did Nico, did you sign anything? What are the splits going to look like? I think you deserve at least 25%, pal. At least 25.
I did match it. It was you know, how do you trick the artist? You just ask them something in general. They do a sketch, and you take the sketch and run with it, and then you're good. But I will give him credit for that.
Where can we?
I got swindled.
Shrewd Tunji taking complete advantage. of naive and innocent Nico. Well, is the mandolin going to be purchasable at some point? Like, do you and your dad have a website or anything? Can we?
No, maybe.
Keeping your day LARP. Okay, not comfortable grifting. Okay.
I don't know. Somebody makes an offer.
How do you
because
guys?
we are starting accumulating too many instruments in this house. We have crossed the dozens, so maybe it's time to get rid of something.
So you're making it as a hobby? For some reason, I thought this was like your day job.
I was a different kind of carpenter as a day job, but before the carpentry, I was doing musical instrument restoration. Now I'm with the same master where I learned wood restoration. I also learned some lutherie, and now I'm doing that because my dad was doing that here.
Very cool. So we gotta. If you guys want to purchase one of Tunji of the North's mandolins, donate to my Ko-Fi link.
That's the way that you
But Magmo, what does your Ko-Fi link has to do with Tunji's mandolin? I don't get it.
Yeah, you don't even get to the mandolin. But,
Nico, don't be an anti-intellectual. Don't be an anti-intellectual. Just, you got to be patient while I explain the very complex connection between Tunji's, his craft and my Ko-Fi. The thing is that all artists are one. You help one of us, you help us all. You hurt one of us, you steal one of our ideas, you stolen from us all. So if you want to get back at Tunji for stealing Nico's ideas and want to support Tunji, or not Tunji, if you want to support Nico a little bit, feel free to click the link and go to my Ko-Fi. Donating to me also helps Nick quite a lot. And if you want one of Sherry's sweaters that she knits while she's on these streams, feel free to click that link, donate to my Ko-Fi, and Sherry will get the support she needs. Joe, he doesn't do much creative stuff, but if you want to put a smile on Joe's face, feel free to hit that Ko-Fi link. Give me a little donation, and yeah, giving to me actually helps out Tayo as well. You know, rising tide lifts all boats, and right now I'm the tide, so lift my boat. You know. Well, Nico, are you any closer to publishing a comic that would be purchasable to the people of TLC?
No.
What's stopping you, brother? Too much time on the Discord voice chat, keeping you from your artistic endeavors?
On the Discord voice chat. No, life is keeping me down. You know, there needs to be like a monastery for comic artists. That's what I'm going to start. I'm going to build a big house in the mountains, and I'm going to gather all of the comic artists over there, and we are going to draw all day, every day. That's what we are going to do.
It's not a bad idea. We'll look into it. Joe, if you were rich and could buy like a mansion, what for the specific purpose of like giving maybe like 10 to 20 artists the ability to just be professional artists. And what I'm saying here is if you could start an artist cult, what medium or what type of art would you, if you had the money, so you're funding this because you want to see more of this particular type of art, what art do you think you would choose, and why is it the McMo weekend streams? Yon God, feel free to donate on that Ko-Fi link, brother. I mean, I did make you a mod after all. Joe, I don't know if you're talking, but we can't hear you. I think he was talking, Clint. I think he's just got some mic issues. He said he fell asleep.
Now?
Hey, there he is. There he is.
Well, that's weird. Apparently my headphones were messing that up, and I didn't know it.
You've been talking this whole time. That's crazy.
Occasionally, I've said a few things.
Well, those were just little secrets for you.
Yeah. They were working yesterday. That's weird. I swear. But all right, now I forgot what we were saying. I would use the money for. I initially thought video games, but then at the same time, it could be just as useful probably to teach like actual painting again, or like just sculpting or something, or just arts in general, I guess. Why do you have to pick one?
So you're going with a general fine arts. You're like, I want more paintings. I want more classical music. I want more architects. I want
Pretty much
more
just all art. Yeah,
sculptors.
like we cut that shit out of like public schools and stuff, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's crazy because that doesn't seem like it would be that partisan of an issue, right? It doesn't seem like it would be necessarily like the conservatives or the liberals who would like want art to be taken out of the schools. So it really makes you wonder who's running things.
It's a good question.
Nico, do they have art classes in the schools in Argentina? Or is that an American thing?
Yeah, but they were shit.
Yeah, you got a tutor, right? You had an art tutor. Mano y mano.
Yeah, basically, something like that. For a bunch of years.
That means you're privileged.
Yeah.
Saw that mountain painting on Discord you posted. It was pretty awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I was just trying to practice painting plein air, but it's not really plein air because I was painting inside this apartment and not outside. Yeah. It's a work in progress.
Was that a painting like Bob Ross style from your mind, or were you looking at a mountain?
No, I was looking at something. I used to try to do everything from my mind, but you know what? Maybe that's not such a great idea.
I think it's like there are people who are so good at it, it blows your mind. So I don't think it should like go away. But if you're like constantly drawing from your mind and not liking the results, it would make sense to me that you would start looking like if you've never drawn from a subject or a photo or a landscape, like from looking at it, then you're doing something. You're doing something else. It's almost like you're doing illustration at that point rather than drawing. And drawing is kind of like art 101 in terms of like it's like the scales for music. Like you got to be able to draw because if you want to paint, you got to be able to draw. If you want to sculpt, you got to be able to draw. I guess if you want to be an architect, you have to draw. So like there's all of these like any art that's like a visual medium in any way, drawing is like one of those fundamental skills.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like it. They try to skip it. Maybe even people who draw try to skip it. Even more now with the artificial intelligence, I'm seeing a lot of people who are using it as an excuse not to learn proper drawing.
Yeah, to me, I'm like, because Clint's making fun of me for laying down the rules. And like, if you don't want to do proper drawing, like if you do just want to make something that looks unique and interesting and that you like, you don't have to do all the training. You can just walk up to a piano and put your fingers down and figure out how to play something that sounds nice to you. But if you want to, this is not only like an art appreciation thing, but also like if you want to excel at the craft of art, eventually you end up learning these little tricks and trades, and you can call them rules, you can call them whatever you want to call them. But I tend to think of it more as a tool. So like if I didn't know my scales, I wouldn't be able to do these streams because I would just be constantly trying to look for the right note, and I wouldn't understand how the music works. So understanding all of that stuff actually helps me get back to that raw feeling of creativity or participation.
It's basically like learning a language, McNeil. You
Yeah.
know, you can do the Jabberwocky poem, but that doesn't mean it might sound good on the tongue, but
it rhymes.
It doesn't have much meaning. I just wanted to say goodbye. I have to go do my chores now. I got
Well,
so
thanks for
wrapped up
stopping
in
by.
this stream that I lost track of time.
It happens to the best of us. Bye, Sherry. And then there were 4.
Yes, talking about monks, all of this hanging out on YouTube, talking head stuff, it sounds very monkish to me.
It is monkish.
One of the things I said, there's a time in each man's life to be a monk and a time to be a knight.
But you can do that if you are neither of the two. Because if you are an actual monk and then you do the knight thing, then you are breaking the monk oath. And if you are a knight and then you do the monk thing, you are also breaking your oath. So it's a problem.
Depends on the time.
Yeah.
But I understand your wisdom for sure. That's but the two things, they should not be in contradiction. That's
they aren't.
That's the problem, and that's why they came up with the Templar, because they thought there should not be a contradiction between the monastery and defending with a weapon your the holy places, let's say. So it makes sense. It seems reasonable, but in reality, there is a lot of lines that you don't want to cross, and makes sense for these two things to actually be separated. Because you can go too far in both ways.
Young God says that the Templars were the Pope's CIA. We need Trump to declassify the Templar papers. I think I'm the Bob Ross of the TLC, low key. I think that I'm the one who brings the good vibes. There's something generative and creative that I'm doing. You know, you don't have to make a beat with me to enjoy it, but you could if you wanted to. I guess I should be more instructional if I really wanted to be the Bob Ross of the corner, but yeah, I don't have the calm.
Happy beat.
Yeah, I don't have the calm, soothing presence of Bob Ross, but
where are the beats, by the way? I'm just realizing that I am on make more streams and there are no beats. Where are the beats?
The beats have been going on in the background, but if I play the beats, then everybody echoes.
Yeah.
Well, we could take a little beat break if you guys wanted to go backstage. I mean, this has gone on for 3 hours and 15 minutes, so maybe it is a good stopping spot. But it's still going to take me a little while to actually bounce this. But I can start that, and I can do some brandings. But actually, let's go ahead and do our final thoughts. So, final thoughts. Any last thing you want to leave us with? Any takeaways from the conversation? Anything you need to apologize for or repent for? Tunji, I'm looking at you for not giving Nico the credit that he deserved and not giving him any money, just stealing his idea.
No, I'm giving the credit. I'm not giving money. But the
that would be
credit,
a good thing to repent of. Just as an example, you don't have to do it, but just as an example, that would be a good one to do. So final thoughts, Nico. Let's start with you.
I'm thinking that I deserve the world. So Tunji, you owe me everything. That's what I think.
Too true. Too true.
you
Joe,
might be right.
Joe, what do you got for final thoughts?
I just had something. Oh, I was gonna say I'd like to apologize for everything and thank you all for everything, and like to one of like a little bit of a background theme I noticed, and I did try to say something about it and did not because the mic thing. But
Yeah, you got a whole stream's worth of comments to catch up on, so please take as long as you need to say all the things that we couldn't hear you say.
There was a part where I connected like the closed circle to the echo chamber, and that's why like mainstream art and media is like a closed circle right now, and which makes it an echo chamber, and then that's why like only the fringes of it are actually connected to the imagination still.
That was really insightful. I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit more. Tunji of the North, the spotlight is yours. Any final words for us today, brother?
Yeah. Again, shout out to Nico from Argentina. He's an incredible artist. Check out his Instagram. He's going to do incredible work in the future and in the present as well. Check him out. And then don't be anti-intellectual. It's cringe. Don't do that. It's very cringe. And then last thought, have a good Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Well done. And with that, we'll hit some branding and we will be out of here.
In the corner, the corner has been
branding.
Midwestuary 2025.
It's not working.
Midwestuary
I'm still on the screen.
2025. August 22nd through the 24th in Elmhurst, Illinois. A weekend you won't want to miss with special guests Cale Zeldin, Paul Vanderklay, Rod Dreer, Elizabeth Oldfield, John Vervaeke, and Jonathan Peugeot. Midwestuary 2025, the Fellowship of the Spirit. Stay tuned for more details. Visit us at midwestuary.com for ongoing updates.
Dum, dum, dum.
Tell me that you've lived here your whole life. No, not yet. Are you married? No, no bad habit. No bad habit, eh? Well, what do you chew that tobacco for? For nothing. Nobody's fool enough to pay me for it. Well, tell me, how far is it to the next crossroads? Follow your nose and you'll come to it. Follow your nose, follow your nose and you'll
anyone who wants to go back and watch it. But there was so much more to go into.
Speak of the Daedalus and Deadass Little Bit.
Was that your American accent? That was pretty good. Sorry,
Keep going, Nick.
I was ranting some time ago about art in general being kind of on a depression right now. I'm not seeing that there is enough movement, in movies, painting, music, whatever you want to say. I was complaining about it, and I got into an argument. But after some time, I didn't realize that I was wrong. Because basically I was complaining that movies are not so good anymore. They're not as many. They don't come out as frequently and stuff like that. But you know what? Video games are still coming out really, really fast in big quantities, and you can tell when you look at the thing, for a lot of them, that the artists were really inspired and energized to make those things. So in the realm of video games, there is still a generative spirit. And, because TLC is, let's say, kneeling into the more respectable side of humanity, video games get kind of ignored around here.
Yeah, what I'm always curious about, is because I agree with you, Nico, that in general, kind of the mainstream art forms that we took for granted, or at least my generation took for granted growing up, I think it's still the art forms we take for granted. So cinema, TV shows, music. I think in those three, those are kind of the big three, as I see them, as like the art forms that made me growing up. There's probably something I'm forgetting, but those are the three that come to mind. Well, video games actually would be number 4, but let's leave video games out. So, of those three, to me, it's felt like we've hit a peak in quality sometime in the last 15 to 20 years. But I have a lot of difficulty separating out what's naturally my own bias towards the culture that formed me as an adolescent into my 20s. Like, that's the time of people's lives where they think the culture was best. That's automatically the nostalgic, like, oh, back in my day it was better, because those are the things that formed us and imprint themselves on our hearts, you could say. But there's also what I would consider an objective quality to art. And so you always have to ask the question, objectively, is art better or worse than the previous? Or, I mean, you don't have to ask that question, but that's the question I'm really curious about. And I do believe in objectively better or worse music. Otherwise, you wouldn't have burrito distribution in any given art form. You could even define it as better, like what more people like more. And even if you just define it that way, it still exists. So, but I personally think it's beyond just personal inclinations in the moment. But yeah, so the question is like, okay, is the art, those three things, the music, the movies, the TV shows, is it not as good objectively as it was 10 to 15 years ago, or at least no better than it was 15 years ago? Or is that just my own nostalgic bias? So thoughts on that?
I'm having less and less patience to the nostalgia critique. So much so that maybe I will just start setting fire to people who do the nostalgia first. We kind of got into it.
Pulling their life down on top of them as soon as they take their first break, which is like, why can't I be like the person across the street? It's just you're different, right? And so, anyway, I think that they should talk about that matters. So this is where I talk about when people talk about like my team talk about what I do is I grab this that you guys talk about these ideas and I just put them down into things that I've seen and I've done in my life. I'm like, oh, okay, this plays here and this actually works because I've seen this play out in real life with other people.
That makes sense to me. Mika, what say you, sir?
Put a shirt on. Come on, get the shirt off.
That's for the audience. You have to pay for that. I mean, of course, faith is necessary, but it seems highly sketchy to me to make so much emphasis on faith. It almost sounds like we're going to fall into this Dawkins position soon enough. Why is there so much attention? That's what I'm questioning. It seems highly satisfying. Highly satisfying.
So much attention on faith.
Yeah.
I think the tendency for Jesus to say things like, oh, ye of little faith, and miracles cannot be done in this town because there is a lack of faith. The whole book of Hebrews. I think there's pretty good reasons to kind of focus on this, but maybe what would you offer as something that we should focus on instead of faith?
Yeah, that's the thing. I will focus more on love instead of faith. Because, for example, you don't concentrate on your heart, on being love, but it's extremely important. But it just happens. It seems to me like so naturally there's so much attention to it. It becomes like the next object of study. Is it going to work out if we turn faith into an object of study? Imagine for the people. Imagine a bunch of YouTube videos. There's a new trend. Controlling your heart. And you get all of these people doing meditation in order to develop the capacity to increase or decrease their heart rates at will. Leave the thing alone. When you love something, attention, desire, action, it goes smoothly. I think it's better to concentrate on the object of desire rather than just leaving faith to do its thing. Doesn't need any help, just like it can. I question where it's going to go.
Yes.
And also, how much he's going to the what was it, metabolism?
Flatliner? Yeah, flat. Yeah, he said it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think those are some very good points as far as, faith, hope, and love, which of these is the greatest. I think you're right to say that love is the greatest. I would, however, though, push back slightly in the sense that,
Right? Yeah. That's why I was like, I'm very excited. I want to demonstrate to you a certain level of interest in.
There's of course there's lost in him. Still, wrong way, wanted. I don't think we can kind of be intellectually at one point, right? We can, there's a way in which we're be intellectually aware. But it's hard for us to have faith. Yeah, that's exactly the distinction. We can be intellectually aware, but not yet have actually cultivated faith, and therefore not be able to live that way. Yeah, and so if I zoom in, and so we're down in this world of let's say my hypothesis, it's just a matter of this moment, George saying that we're in this frame where the horizon of your perception is entirely bound by a reality that is governed by the laws of scarcity.
Jesus Christ.